Everyone, let me tell you something that might just change your life. You will never truly heal until you stop expecting your mother to become the version of her that never existed. We grow up believing our parents, especially our mothers, are supposed to be our safe place. And when they aren't, when they are cold, critical, absent, manipulative, emotionally unavailable, or even abusive, it leaves a scar, a deep one that doesn't go away just because you've grown up and moved out. You may be 30, 40, 50 years old and still feel like that little kid begging for love, validation, or a normal connection that never came. Healing doesn't begin with confrontation. It doesn't begin with blame. It begins with acceptance, the kind of radical, uncomfortable acceptance that forces you to face a reality you've spent most of your life avoiding. When it comes to the pain you carry because of your mother, the hardest part isn't the past, it's the hope. The hope that one day she'll wake up, see how much she hurt you, apologize, change, and finally love you the way you always needed. That hope is what keeps the wound open. You keep expecting her to become someone she never was. And until you let go of that expectation, healing is impossible. You can't rewrite the past. You can't parent your childhood self through your mother now. What's done is done. But what isn't done is your story. And your story only truly begins the moment you stop chasing the fantasy version of your mother and begin accepting the reality of who she is. Acceptance doesn't mean saying what she did was okay. It doesn't mean letting her back into your life to hurt you again. It means you finally stop trying to change the unchangeable. You stop replaying conversations in your mind, imagining different outcomes. You stop needing her to say sorry. You stop needing her to be different. You stop handing her the power to determine your worth. You begin to realize that you were always enough, even if she never saw it. You begin to understand that people can only love from the level of awareness and healing they've reached themselves. And if your mother never had the tools, the healing, or the emotional maturity to love you well, that's tragic. But it's not your fault, and it's not your responsibility to fix. This kind of acceptance can feel like betrayal. It can feel like giving up, but what you're really giving up is the illusion, and illusions are heavy. They weigh you down. They keep you stuck in the same emotional loops, waiting, hoping, hurting. Acceptance is the release. It's the breath. It's the moment when you stop fighting for something that never existed and start fighting for yourself. It's when you look at the wound and say, I see it, I acknowledge it, and I choose to heal from it, not by changing the past, but by changing how I carry it. You will never be able to control who your mother was or how she treated you, but you can control what you do with that pain now. You can choose to stop passing it on. You can choose to stop living in reaction to it. You can choose to stop molding your life around a missing piece. The truth is, your healing begins not when she becomes the mother you always needed, but when you become the person you always needed. And that starts with letting go of what will never be, so you can embrace what can. One of the deepest lies we absorb as children is this: if our mother couldn't love us, it must mean we weren't lovable. If she ignored our needs, criticized our feelings, or made us feel invisible, we start to believe that something is wrong with us. That belief doesn't stay in childhood. It grows with us. It follows us into our adult relationships, our self-worth, our confidence, and our ability to trust others. But the truth is this: your mother's inability to love you in the way you needed has nothing to do with your worth. It reflects her emotional capacity, her wounds, her story, not yours. She may have been emotionally distant because no one ever showed her how to be present. She may have criticized you because she hated herself. She may have neglected you because she was overwhelmed, traumatized, or emotionally immature. Whatever the reason, it is hers, not yours. You were born worthy. You were born deserving of love, attention, comfort, and emotional safety. Those are basic needs, not luxuries. And if you didn't receive them, it doesn't mean you didn't deserve them. It simply means someone failed to give them. That failure is not your identity. It's not your fault. It's not proof that you're broken, unlovable, or somehow too much. or not enough. But when we don't understand this, we keep trying to earn love. We people please, overachieve, stay quiet, avoid conflict, and bend ourselves to fit what we think others want, just to feel accepted. That's the child in us still trying to win over a mother who could never see our light. To heal, you have to separate who you are from how you were treated. Just because someone couldn't show up for you doesn't mean you weren't worth showing up for. That's the lie trauma tells you, but the truth is you're still here. You've survived, and that means something powerful. You get to rewrite the narrative. You get to reclaim your worth. You get to say, I'm not defined by what I lacked, I'm defined by what I choose to become. This isn't about blaming your mother for everything that's gone wrong. It's about seeing the root of your pain clearly, without shame. When you understand that her limitations were never about you, you begin to take back the power you gave away. You no longer live for her approval. You stop chasing love in places that feel familiar but unsafe. You start building a new foundation, one that comes from within. You realize you don't have to be perfect to be loved. You just have to be you, fully, authentically, fearlessly. Your worth isn't something you have to earn. It's something you have to remember, because it was always there, it's still there, and once you truly believe that, you begin to heal. Not from a place of pain, but from a place of power. So many people carry deep emotional wounds into adulthood because they're waiting for something they may never receive: an apology, an acknowledgement, a moment when their mother says, I know I hurt you, I'm sorry, I should have done better. And while that longing is natural, it often becomes the very thing that blocks healing. We believe we need closure from the person who caused the pain. We think, if she would just say she's sorry, I could finally let go. But the truth is, you don't need her apology to heal. You don't need her permission to move on. Waiting for an apology that may never come only keeps you stuck in the past, stuck in pain, and stuck in a version of yourself that depends on her actions for peace. Here's the reality: not everyone is capable of accountability. Some people are too consumed by guilt, denial, shame, or their own trauma to admit what they've done. Some were never taught how to say sorry, how to validate another person's emotions, or how to sit with uncomfortable truths. And some simply refuse to acknowledge your pain because it forces them to look at parts of themselves they're not ready to face. If your healing depends on them changing, on them saying the right words, you're handing them power they don't deserve and may never use responsibly. But when you realize that healing is your responsibility, not theirs, you take your power back. You can choose to validate your own experience. You can say, yes, what happened to me was real. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it shaped me. But it doesn't have to define me anymore. You don't need someone else to admit they were wrong for you to stop carrying the weight of their choices. You can set that burden down at any time. You don't need a formal moment of forgiveness from them. You need to forgive yourself for thinking it was your fault. You need to let go of the idea that your worth hinges on someone else finally seeing you. One of the most powerful things you can do is create your own closure. That might mean writing a letter you'll never send. It might mean talking to a therapist, journaling, or simply speaking your truth out loud. It means grieving what you didn't get and allowing yourself to feel the anger, the sadness, and even the disappointment fully. And then decide, unconsciously, that you won't let that pain control your future. You don't need her apology to begin again. You just need the courage to stop waiting for what may never come and start giving yourself what you always deserved: love, validation, and peace. Healing without an apology is hard. It requires strength, clarity, and deep emotional work. But it's possible, and once you choose that path, you realize something life-changing. You were never broken. You were just waiting to be seen. Now you can see yourself, and that is where healing truly begins. Grieving the mother you never had is one of the hardest yet most important steps in your healing journey. It's not about blaming or hating her. It's about finally telling yourself the truth. For years, maybe your entire life, you held onto an image of what a mother should be: loving, nurturing, safe, understanding, present. You may have waited for her to hug you when you were hurting, to defend you when others didn't, to tell you she was proud, or simply to say, I love you, without conditions. And when that never came, you made excuses. You hoped, you rationalized, you tried to earn it. You buried the pain under busyness, perfectionism, or even silence. But the inner child in you never forgot. That child still waits, still aches, still wonders why love had to feel so painful. Grief is often misunderstood. It's not just for death, it's for loss of any kind. And not having the mother you needed is a real loss. You lost the experience of being fully seen and loved in your most vulnerable moments. You lost the emotional safety that every child deserves. You lost the chance to feel unconditionally accepted, to be comforted without judgment. And that deserves to be grieved. Ignoring it won't make it go away. Minimizing it won't heal you. True healing requires you to name that loss, to feel it, and to mourn it. Not because you're weak, but because you finally love yourself enough to tell the truth. Grieving the mother you never had also means letting go of the hope that one day she'll become that person. It means you stop rewriting the story, stop replaying what-if scenarios, and stop wishing she'll show up differently. That doesn't mean giving up on love, it means giving up on the illusion. And in that space of truth, you begin to make room for something new, the possibility of giving yourself the love you were denied. You begin to reparent yourself. You begin to speak to yourself with compassion, to honor your needs, and to build a life based on who you are, not who you had to become to survive. Grief is not linear. Some days it will hit you like a wave, a comment, a memory, a holiday, a movie. Anything can open that wound, but instead of running from it, you learn to sit with it, to say, this hurts and that's okay. You stop judging your emotions. You stop telling yourself to just get over it. You understand that healing takes time, that this grief is sacred. It's part of reclaiming your story. And the beauty is this: once you allow yourself to grieve, you begin to grow. You start attracting relationships that feel healthy and mutual. You begin creating boundaries that protect your peace. You start feeling whole, not because someone else finally filled the void, but because you gave yourself permission to acknowledge it, mourn it, and then nurture it with truth and love. This is how the cycle ends. This is how you heal. There comes a moment when you realize that the pain you've carried doesn't have to continue. That moment is powerful, because it's the beginning of transformation. You were shaped by your past, yes, but you are not bound to repeat it. You may not have had the mother you needed, but you can still become the person you needed. You can be the one who breaks the cycle, who stops the generational patterns of silence, neglect, emotional disconnection, or trauma. And that starts with one undeniable truth: you have the power now. When you were a child, you didn't have choices. You were dependent, vulnerable, and shaped by your environment. But as an adult, you have something incredibly important: agency. You get to decide what kind of person you become. You get to choose how you treat yourself, how you allow others to treat you, and what kind of relationships you want to create. Breaking the cycle means recognizing what was harmful, understanding how it affected you, and then doing the deep inner work to make different choices. It doesn't mean being perfect. It means being conscious. So many people live their lives on emotional autopilot, reenacting the same dynamics they grew up with. They become emotionally unavailable because their mother was. They avoid vulnerability because it never felt safe. They silence their needs because they were told they were too much. But when you become aware of those patterns, you can interrupt them. You can say, "This stops with me." You can begin to speak to yourself with kindness, set healthy boundaries, regulate your emotions, and seek out support that's truly nourishing. This process is not easy. It takes time. It takes confronting pain you've buried for years. It takes unlearning everything you were taught about love, safety, and self-worth. But the reward is freedom. The reward is peace. The reward is becoming a version of yourself that's not chained to old wounds. Breaking the cycle also means recognizing that you don't have to mirror your mother's behavior. You can mother yourself with compassion. You can give your inner child what she never received: comfort, encouragement, safety. You can rewrite the story. You can become the adult who gently says, "You didn't deserve that pain, but now you're safe, I've got you." And the ripple effect of that healing, it spreads to your friendships, your relationships, your future children if you have them, and even to the way you walk through the world. You show others what's possible. You become a light, not because life didn't hurt you, but because you refuse to let it harden you. You are not broken. You are breaking through. And every time you choose healing over hurting, presence over patterns, and growth over comfort, you are proving that you are stronger than your past. The pain may have been passed down to you, but it does not have to be passed on. You can break the cycle, and in doing so, you heal not only yourself, but generations before and after you. Conclusion: healing from the wounds caused by your mother isn't about blame, it's about truth. It's about accepting who she is without illusions, separating her limitations from your worth, and choosing to no longer wait for the apology that may never come. It's about grieving the love you never received and giving yourself the compassion and care you've always deserved. The moment you stop chasing the version of her that doesn't exist, you free yourself. You step into your own power. You begin to reparent yourself, break toxic cycles, and create a new legacy. One rooted in awareness, self-love, and growth. You are not your past, you are not your pain. You are the healer, the cycle breaker, and the author of your future. True freedom begins the moment you understand this. Your healing was never in her hands. It's always been in yours.